Are you ready?
Yes.
Welcome back to our cooking channel. Today we're going to be making tofu.
And on the menu, we're going to be showing you different ways that you can make tofu. So we'll be showing 3 different ways. We're going to be doing some scrambled tofu. We'll be doing some barbecue tofu and also like a coconut tofu. And these are all great foods that you can pair with your food. So we'll show you how you can do that with breakfast or lunch, and you can pair that with different food items, like whether it be your grains like rice or quinoa and so forth. So this is going to be a very exciting class. So stay tuned until the end because we have a lot of recipes and techniques to show you of how to make the best tofu.
We're going to start with our coconut tofu. And the first thing that we're going to do is cut open our tofu and put it in the oven to bake. This tofu is firm pressed. And I like this one because the texture is really nice and firm and everything. And we put it in the freezer to help it to aerate the tofu. So it freezes it and it creates pockets in the tofu so that it can absorb all of that good sauce that you're going to be making today.
And then this one here, we found out it has actually less water in it. So this is by the brand Franklin Farms. And this one has a little bit less water, so you get a little more tofu for the buck. So when we've used this in the past, we realized that we can feed more people with the same price, basically, as the other tofus. So the first step when we do our tofu is cutting it with a scissors here so we can open up the package. You can use a knife if you want to. And then right now we're just going to slice our tofu up. And
What do you want to do it like cubes or triangles or
Which
strips?
one is that for? That one is for the coconut. Yeah, we can do it in cubes. So with the coconut tofu here, we can do the cubes like for the tofu. And then when we do our barbecue tofu, we're going to do more like strips, right?
Yeah.
So we just have different types of tofu here that we're doing. And then once we have done that, we cubed all our tofus. Keep all our tofus. Once we have cut our tofu up in cubes, then what we're going to do here is just to put it in this right here. We're going to be using a toaster oven, but you can actually put this in your oven if you don't have a toaster oven. And the reason why we use a toaster oven as well, some of them have a fan and it have like that convection oven-like baking, so it bakes all the way through. And what we're going to do here is just spread this out here, and you can see to the bottom of this metal thing that we have here, it is aerated, so there are holes to the bottom, so then we don't have to flip the tofu over whilst we're baking it. So you're going to bake this in the oven, and we're going to put set the oven to 375 degrees Fahrenheit, and then we're going to bake it in there for about 15-20 minutes. But what we're going to do here, as soon as we start seeing browning on the skin of the tofu, then we know it's ready. And it's going to be like a little bit crispy on the outside. And what we're going to do here, once we get this, we're going to take all this here, and then we're going to put this in a pan. We're going to prepare our pan right now, skillet, with our ingredients for our coconut sauce. So this is going to be like a coconut sesame sauce. You're going to put some sesame oil in there too, toasted sesame oil. And this is going to taste really good here.
So we're just going to chop up 1 medium-sized onion, finely dice it, and 2 cloves of garlic. We're going to crush our garlic with this garlic crusher, or you can chop it up really finely diced. So once those are all chopped up, you're going to add that to a skillet with 1/4 cup of coconut oil. You don't have to use as much oil as we did. It's not 100% necessary, but we like to add that oil to make that sauce exactly the consistency that we like. So you're going to saute those until they're nice and translucent. Here we're also adding our sesame seed oil so that it soaks into those onions and tastes really good. So 1 teaspoon of toasted sesame seed oil. Then once our onions are translucent, we'll add a can of coconut milk, 2 teaspoons of parsley, 1 teaspoon of dill weed, and we're going to mix that all up. I'm also going to be adding about 2 teaspoons of nutritional yeast flakes.
All right, so now we're going to add salt to taste as we said, but we're going to start off with a teaspoon of salt just to taste it, to make sure to see if there's enough saltiness in there. And it's good to add the salt before in that sauce. Look at this here. We still have the sauce that we're mixing up here because the tofu is going to absorb all that flavor. And when you start to add things afterwards, some tofu might be more seasoned than other parts.
It's salty enough.
And then just keep in mind here, when you add in your salt, that you just want to have it a little saltier than what you're used to, because when you put the tofu in there, it's going to bring down the saltiness. So you don't want to make it perfect saltiness, because then it will not taste as salty, but you want to add a little extra so it's a little salty, so that when you put the tofu in, it can absorb some of that, and it helps to bring down the saltiness that is in there. Okay, so now all that's left for us to do, sometimes we just like to add a little bit of squeeze of lemon in there, just to bring out the flavor a little bit. So just gonna take a lemon here, just a little piece of lemon, and you just add a little squeeze in there. Lemon helps to enhance the flavor of your food. This is one of our secret ingredients here when we cook our food. Just add a little bit of lemon, and it helps to enhance and bring out the flavor in your food here as well.
I almost want to put a little sweetener in it too.
My wife says she wants to put a little bit of sweetener in it.
I like to add sweetener to everything.
Don't be afraid to add this in as well. So what we're gonna do now is to add our tofu in. So we're gonna add all our tofu in. This is really gonna just absorb some of this flavor here.
You gotta get the baby. She's not happy.
All right, so this is how our tofu is turned out so far, and now we have our daughter who talked her way into our video here. So she decided she wanted to be in the video. She's making noise. She's like, get me. So now she's watching what we're doing, right? How does it look? Does it look tasty? So it's a trend now. Every cooking video, our children make it into the video somehow. Now our son wants to come in, so he's gonna come and show his face now in the video. Okay, so that's looking really good here. Smelling really good too.
I want to eat it.
All right, so just for good measure, my wife said add a little bit of sweetener in there. So just a little pinch of sweetener here, maybe like a quarter teaspoon, half a teaspoon of sweetener in there, just to give it a little bit of that oomph. So we add a little bit of maple syrup in there, just to give it that oomph. That's optional, you don't have to, but a lot of foods that we eat out there, they put sweetener in those foods, so we use more of those natural sweeteners just to get some of that flavor as well. And this is our coconut tofu here. You can boil this down, make it a little thicker. You can make it a little more liquidy. So you can play around with it and do it the way that you would want to do your coconut tofu. But this is our ingredients here for our coconut tofu. Now we're gonna switch over now.
So our next recipe is our barbecue tofu. Are we gonna call it barbecue? Homemade barbecue?
Homemade barbecue tofu. At least close enough to barbecue.
Yes.
And we're making all from scratch. And the reason why we do that is because the barbecue sauce has so many things in it that we don't consume. I know that some people might say, oh, there's vegan barbecue. Actually, the original barbecue have Worcestershire sauce, if that's how you say it. How do you say it? Worcestershire, however you say it. It has that sauce in there. And that sauce is actually, they use a process to make that sauce where they use some type of fish, I believe. I might be wrong, but I think it's anchovies or one of those fish that they use where they steep the sauce inside of, and they let it sit for some days to give it that flavor. So we're gonna be using some of the methods that they use to make that Worcestershire sauce and make our own from home with like tamarind and different stuff like that. But we'll come to that very soon. But now it's just the prep of the tofu.
All right, so we're gonna open again our 2 packets of tofu.
And this one, I keep in mind, had the same thing that we've done to this one, where we put it in the freezer, and then so we can air it and it can be more absorbable when it's to absorb some of the flavor that we're going to be adding to this tofu here afterwards.
Okay, so we're gonna cut this one in strips, you said?
Yeah, you can cut this one in strips. Or however way you like to cut it, but
I'm gonna cut it to kind of be like barbecue chicken strips.
yeah, that sounds delicious already. Now this barbecue sauce here, we've been experimenting with over the years, and we've been trying to get it to a point where it tastes good and hopefully everyone likes it. Sometimes we dump stuff, and the last one my wife did, she dumped some stuff in there, added some few more things, and it tasted really good. And I'm like, can you mimic that again? So hopefully we got the recipe right here for our barbecue sauce as we make this barbecue strips there.
So this one's a little bit wet, so I'm just gonna like press out some of the water because we're gonna put this on a skillet to get it nice and crispy on the outside, soft on the inside, so that it keeps it together. And also, then we're gonna cut it up a little bit more. So I'm just cutting them in 4 like strips, and then we're gonna put this on the skillet to not fry, but
We're going to be roasting it, I guess, lightly roasted. And the reason why we're roasting and also we baking the coconut tofu that we did is so that we can actually evaporate some more of that water. I know a lot of people press their tofu, but using this method here, we've seen that we don't need to press it as much, like she's just dabbing it with a cloth here. But because we are roasting that and also we're baking it, most of the water is evaporated from the tofu, so that way you don't have to do much of that pressing. And as you can see here, we are cutting it up in larger pieces. And the reason why we cut it up in larger pieces is so that we can roast it on the skillet and it can keep its form, and then we'll cut it up afterwards. Because if you cut it up right now, it might begin to crumble. So then we just want to do it in its larger form first and then roast it afterwards.
all right, so let's get our skillet. So we're just putting the tofu straight on the pan. You can use a cast iron pan or a non-stick pan, whatever you choose, but we're just roasting that tofu on the pan. We haven't added any oil or anything. It's just bare pan. We let the pan heat up really hot before we put it on there so it doesn't stick. And so we're just flipping that over, and then once it's done, we take it off. Then we put our half of a large onion in the skillet so that we can melt it away and let it get nice and soft. Then we add our tomato sauce, about a whole can of tomato sauce or 1.5 cups of tomato sauce. Then we take an entire lemon and squeeze the juice from that lemon into the sauce. And we just keep cooking that down. Then we're adding here our onion powder, our garlic powder. So we have 1 teaspoon garlic powder, 2 teaspoons smoked paprika, 1 teaspoon of dill, weed, 1 teaspoon parsley. We also adding our tamarind sauce, which we're going to add 3 teaspoons of tamarind sauce. Then we're going to be adding a 1/4 cup of coconut aminos. We use this in place of soy sauce because soy sauce is fermented, so we don't use any fermented stuff, so we use the coconut aminos. Then we're going to be adding 2 tablespoons of our nutritional yeast and 3 tablespoons of blackstrap molasses. Blackstrap molasses is really good for you. And it's got all the nutrients in there. So it's what's left over from the sugar that they make. And sugar is an empty caloric food, so we don't use any refined sugars. We only use natural sweeteners. As you can see, we've added also our maple syrup and sweetener, 3 tablespoons of maple syrup, 1 tablespoon of agave. And then we add our 1 teaspoon of tahini, and then salt to taste. I used about 2 teaspoons of salt in this recipe. It did come out a little bit salty, so you can add less salt if you choose. Look at that sauce, it's so good. So we put it all in the blender and blend it up nice and smooth so that we can have it look just like our lovely barbecue sauce that you can get off the shelf, but this is all healthy and tasty. Then we're going to take our tofu that we roasted on the skillet and cut it up into strips. As you can see, it's nice and held together because we've already roasted it, so it's not going to be falling apart. Then we put our sauce back in the pan and add our tofu. And then you just heat that up and boil it a little bit. We also added a half a cup of water into the recipe afterwards because it's very thick. So we added half a cup of water and then you boil it some more so that all those juices can seep into that tofu. It already looks so good.
All right, so we've done well so far. On to our last recipe for today. We'll be showing you how to make some scrambled tofu from home. Tofu that actually tastes delicious, and if you miss that egg, then you'll be able to enjoy the scrambled tofu that is actually very good for your health at the same time. So the first thing that we're going to do here is to get our chopping board, and then we'll start chopping up some bell peppers.
So we're finally dicing our bell pepper in tiny little cubes so we can have that nice, make it look like a nice omelet. You add some coconut oil to the pan, and then we saute our bell peppers in there. Let them get nice and soft. Then we're going to be adding our seasoning. Have a quarter cup of nutritional yeast, a quarter teaspoon of turmeric, quarter teaspoon of garlic powder, half a teaspoon of onion powder, quarter teaspoon of paprika. And then we're also going to be adding a little bit of milk. So 2 teaspoons of milk. And then we're going to add our tofu. That's a 16-ounce block of silken tofu is what we're using. You can also use soft tofu and have it all, like crumble it all up with your hands. And you're just going to mix that up. And you want to cook it down until it's nice and pretty much dry. If you do use the soft tofu, you're going to notice that it's going to dry out a little faster. Anyway, this is texture you want it to look like, kind of like eggs. We also did add salt, so 1 teaspoon of salt. And you should be good, but you're adding salt to taste, so it's up to you. You can also use black salt. Black salt tastes really has that egg flavor. So if you really want the flavor of egg, then you can use black salt and you should get that nice egg flavor that you so desire.
So this is our 3 recipes for today here. We showed you how to make, barbecue tofu, coconut tofu, and silken tofu here.
Well, I hope you enjoyed.
How did the barbecue taste? I didn't get to taste the barbecue tofu.
It tasted really good. Oh my goodness, it was so delicious. It's a good thing my lunchtime was, right after.
Yes, right when we were cooking the video. We had so much stuff happen while we were cooking this video here.
Yeah.
But so I want you guys to try this out, and as you get home, let us know how it turns out for you. Send us pictures or whatever, get our emails and send us pictures, and we'd love to know how this recipes turn out for you as you implement some of this plant-based foods into your diet and your lifestyle. So this is our video here today. We want to make sure that you like this video so that YouTube can know that you enjoy this video. You can recommend this video to more people and on YouTube. And also subscribe if you haven't subscribed as yet. It's free to subscribe, free to like the videos. You not charge anything for that. And thank you so much for watching every week.
All right, see you next time.